I'm Alana and I'm 12 and I was diagnosed with autism in July 2019 when I was in year 6. I'm here today to talk to you about my experiences with Alana's autism. My journey before my assessment in school was actually really positive. My school were very understanding that they knew that I was going through the process of being diagnosed and put things in place that helped me. For example, a specialised timetable at Christmas, as they knew that the uncertainty of what was going to happen would cause anxiety, and also making sure that I had a one-to-one in exams so that I wasn't stressed about finishing before others, as that is one of the things that I really struggle with. For me, transition was really positive as my school created an enhanced transition for students they knew would struggle with transitioning from a junior school with small amounts of pupils to a really big high school. I'm a proud pupil of Wales High, as I know they do the best they can to support their students, even if they could do better sometimes, but no school is ever perfect. Year 7 for me was quite a strange year as I only spent half of my year in school, but my school still supported me in many ways. Here are some of the great things they did that I think other schools could consider for autistic students. Each autistic student has a key worker they can go to with any problems they may have. We have the Bridge, which is a space for autistic students to go if school feels a little bit overwhelming. We also have Learning Support, which is for students with disabilities, where they can go and they can have TAs to support them. Some of the things we could do better in our school is more uniform exceptions, as shoes and PE socks specifically can get really hard. PE socks are really hard to get on, which can sometimes be an issue for students. They are also not very comfortable and are very scratchy. Shoes can be hard, as some of us have sensory issues with certain shoes, and so trainers or things like Vans are more comfortable or more suitable for our needs. Here are a few other things that really do help. Letting us know if we're going to have a substitute teacher and who it's going to be, clear communication, and having passers that tell people that we may need to step outside the classroom or leave 5 minutes early so that the corridors aren't overwhelming or busy. Outside of school, I also like to do clubs and other activities. For example, football, dance and theatre. But this can present many challenges if clubs don't accept me for who I am and give reasonable differences that I may need. For example, clear communication, routine, and letting me know if something's going to change early enough for me to process that information and make sure I know what's going to be happening. If clubs don't do this, this makes it really hard for me to stay at that club, and that means that I can't enjoy what I really love. I also run a community group called Alana's Care and Cakes. I have been doing this for nearly 3 years now. For me, this is a big part in looking after myself and keeping myself anxiety-free, but that isn't true. This helps me because helping others really plays to my strengths, and I know that it gives me a focus, and some people would call it a special interest, but I just think it's one of my healthy habits. So sleep, well, what can I say? I don't. But I've found a few coping strategies for me to help me sleep during the night. One thing is a weighted blanket. This really helps me as it feels there's pressure on my body as if someone's giving me a hug. I break a lot of the rules of sleep as I do have my telly on at night, which means I feel like someone is in the room as I listen to the people talking on the telly, and that helps me fall asleep. I also have my fish bubble tube, which plays in my bedroom and helps me fall asleep faster. Routines can be really important for individuals, as then they know what will be happening that day, and we may ask you multiple times, are we still doing it? As if something gets cancelled last minute, it does cause a worry. What helps for me but may not work for every individual is explaining a legitimate reason why we can't do that thing anymore. For example, the weather. Each individual prefers their routine laid out in a different way. For example, speech, writing, or in a routine board such as this. These really help individuals as they can visualise what is going to be happening that day and when it will be happening. Now, this subject I don't know a lot about, but I am working actively on trying to improve it for myself, as it's something I do really struggle with. Anxiety. Anxiety for me means that I get really worried in situations that other people may not get as worried about. I sometimes get sad, angry, or really frustrated. I'm starting to understand the things that happen when I get really anxious. Example, irrational thinking. I get really worried that things may happen that definitely aren't realistic. For example, me and my family went out on a walk the other day near a river that I'd never been to before, so I was worried we were going to get lost, and it was my first day back at school the next day and that I wouldn't be able to go back to school, which for me seemed quite right and quite normal, but for everybody else it was quite a random thought that we knew would never happen. These things can cause real anxious inside of us, so if you help us work through why that's not going to happen, that really does help us. Me becoming a mental health ambassador at my school is really helping me understand my mental health better. I really enjoy being a mental health ambassador because as well as working on my mental health, I can help others with theirs too. This video has been really hard for me to film, and this next topic is really one of my hardest ones, and that's friendships, because friendships for me are really, really, really tough, and I sometimes just can't get along with everybody, and that really hurts because I do want to get along with everybody, because I take things very literally and not everybody does, but I do. And so friendships for me can be really difficult, as I don't feel confident enough to just walk up to somebody and start a conversation with them, as I am scared they will judge me or they won't speak to me back. So friendships for me are really hard, but the few friends that I do have are really quite special to me. I have a bit of advice for any people who have maybe been newly diagnosed as autistic, or parents that have children who have just been newly diagnosed autistic. One thing is, don't ashamed to be you, because you are the best you and there's nobody that can be just like you. And just know there are so many amazing resources out there that can teach you and others about your autism, and you are the best advocate for you, because nobody can advocate better for yourself than you can for you. I know it may be tough, but we all can get through this, and we can all go and get through this together. It may be tough, but there's better times to come, and once you get through the hardest, it's always a bright light behind it. And finally, this is a few things for everybody else. Parents, play to your kids' strengths and let them do what makes them happiest. Teachers, a small flexible adjustment really can be life-changing for an autistic student. Small thing like moving a seat next to someone they know and someone they are close to really can stop anxiety about what if this person next to me doesn't really like me. And professionals, please, we are lived experience. Please ask us before sharing anything anywhere. We know, we understand, and we want you to advocate for us best you can. Finally, never forget that even though I've spoken to you about Alana's autism, every autistic person is different. Take time to understand us and get to know us before making any assumptions. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about Alana's autism today. I really do. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really do appreciate it. I've really worked hard on this, as I really did want to get it just right for everybody, as I know that by doing this, I can support other autistic people in our community.